So this is now Nina's video. So it listens to the details and the way the processes. Thank you.
In response to the flurry of inquiries that have been coming to Nina's Secretariat concerning where we are in what we set out to do with constitutional force majeure, here's our response. Here's our answer. You will recall that the stated objective, the grand objective of the constitutional force majeure in the attempt to implement the consensus we had built against the constitution of death was to target the election as the venue for the fight for what will happen, to target that 2023 election in a manner that will collapse the election in circumstances that revolve around the constitution itself. That's we are rejecting the election on account of our rejection of that constitution and the unitary union of death it imposes on us in that order. Look at this domino 2, and if we back pedal to domino 1, you will see clearly coming from your right towards the left, you will see the pillar we marked election, the next pillar constitution, the next pillar union, and underneath the pillar of election you will see the lever of the alliance, the three blocks, focusing their efforts together. You see the arrow that they press, they pressure together in one direction to topple the election as a mark of their rejection of the constitution that make them, slaves in their homeland. Our report today is that that strategic objective has been met. You may argue as you deem fit amongst those who do not know how such things are done. Those who were expecting people to, because when people heard about force majeure, they thought there would be riot on the street. The system was already sharpening its machete to behead people who are coming to do. They didn't know it was a very sophisticated thing that will put election in disarray. And we were saying it every day for 3 years. You see, this election, we'll do whatever we need to do to sabotage it from producing an outcome that will stand. And that is a mark of our rejection of the constitution by which the winner of that election will govern. And when that constitution goes down from the angle it will be attacked, then we'll come to the realization that we have no union. That union that is erected upon that constitution will go down with that constitution. Where are we today? The election went as badly as it could go, such that the system had to sacrifice the constitution to save the election. That was what the Supreme Court did in October of 2023. That was what INEC was doing at the time they were declaring the one who didn't win the election. They both waived the 25% required by that. It was the pressure from all the sides that they were just trying to rescue something from, because the people had woken up. Everybody was now doing things they would normally not have done before. And so bottom line is that the election went into a spin. The system had to sacrifice the constitution to save the election. And then we're interpreting their actions to them now. The union is at an end because the constitution that held it together, you buried it. Remember in the broadcast where we were telling them that if they chose to waive that 25%, it means that that constitution which we have been trying to put to death has now been abandoned to die on the street by the Supreme Court, and we're going to join them. We are joining them. Where we're going now is that we're going to demonstrate that there's no union. And if anybody is wondering how we came to that conclusion, the National Assembly that wants to write a new constitution has only confirmed to all of you that the constitution by which we have been operating, by which we have been unionized against our will, is dead. That's why they're looking for a new one.
Yep.
If the constitution was still alive, they would be doing the amendment and boasting. And so the strategic objective for the constitutional force majeure, look at it: election down, constitution down, union down. The only thing remaining now, transition to go and rework the union in terms of who wants to federate. They will identify themselves by referendum. Then they will define the formations in which they are going to relate. That's what becomes the structure, whether they want to be in 4 regions or 6 regions or whatever be the formation, but certainly not 36 states. For the lunatics that are talking about carving out more of this, we are the vanguard of the campaign. NINAS is the vanguard framework for the campaign for self-determination for the constituent companies, meaning that little Isoko, little Ogun, little Ishekiri, all of them will be, in their space in that self-determination. They will be custodians and operators of their sovereignty. So to that extent, we will say confidently that Nigeria has been brought to where we wanted it to land. A logjam, a constitutional logjam. If anybody thinks that what happened on February 25 in 2023 has become basis for a 4-year presidential term that will not be challenged by anything, no. The election ended inconclusive. The outcome remains the interregnum. What you are celebrating as a president is, yes, there's somebody in government house pretending to be Nigeria's president, but the Supreme Court will not place itself. We will not allow, since the right to make constitution is exclusive to the sovereign constituent components, and we have laid a charge against the legitimacy of the constitution that was imposed on us. Nobody is able to make constitution and impose on us, including the one Absalom Abaka did. And so, if we are tolerating that for us to get peacefully to the table of discussion, and then the Supreme Court, that is a product of that constitution, will now abandon that constitution and place itself above the prescriptions of that constitution, we are the ones saying, let's take down this constitution. But until we get to that discussion table, we also said it in that force majeure, let those who have not read that constitutional force majeure, for their own good, for their own sake, their ignorance will only afflict them, will only cause them to perish, like the Bible already condemned them. Because we stated clearly why we are saying what we are saying and why we are going to do what we are doing, what we are going to do. We said clearly that if after all the consultations we can't find common ground, then we will step forward to where we reconsider our allegiance to that constitution. What is the meaning of a reconsideration of allegiance? Go and read the operative part. If you can't read all, read the operative part, where that 5-point proposition, were listed, from the word accordingly downwards, from the word accordingly. When you are reading some charter or some kind of resolution, when you come to the word accordingly, pay attention, because that is now the action that will follow from all of what has been laid out. And so we are saying that the constitutional force majeure succeeded 100% in its objectives in bringing Nigeria to that constitutional logjam. We are not at war. Think there's confusion, but at least we are still discussing. It's still being discussed. It may not be in a round table setting. There are people sitting in Abuja and talking over our heads about what they're going to do. There are others sitting or standing in Civic Center in Lagos saying, you must now call a meeting of the sovereign constituent components, who will have to decide how to reconfigure their union. And if they can't get it, if for any reason they are not able to find common ground, we must disperse forthwith. That is where the discussion is going on everywhere. But NINAS is trying to bring it to where it can produce an outcome. What is that outcome? Successor protocols. Whether as one political union or independent units of successor sovereign state entities that will emerge from the defunct Federation of Nigeria. There's a country we still call Nigeria, but it's no longer a project.
No.
The federation we agreed upon in Lancaster House died in 1966. Those who hijacked the carcass, waving the Nigerian flag and singing Nigerian anthem as if the hood makes the monk. Even if you force little children or everybody that you can control to sing this anthem 10 times every day as a matter of recitation and recite the pledge, how does that become replacement for what is supposed to be the social contract? For what is supposed to be the social contract, the constitution that I have to agree with you on how we unionize, how we federate. It doesn't replace it. And shame on all of those who gather to sing the falsehood and recite the falsehood. Every stanza. Arise, O compatriots. Who are those compatriots? The Buhari that is leading his people, his Fulani people, to come to kill everybody else? Then we go and pretend that is our compatriot. Or the ones who are sitting in Abuja and sharing trillions while watching the citizens die on the street from hunger. They are not my compatriots. Anybody who can swear to defend and uphold this abomination that take life from me, that point guns at me, that seize my economic assets, is not my compatriot. Especially if he subscribes to any worldview that requires him to kill me, like the ones who are doing Sharia. They are not my compatriots at all. Nigerians call obey a monster. Look at the ones who have been obeying that monster. Look at how their lives are turned. To serve Nigeria with all your strength. Or I pledge to Nigeria, my country. Are you serious? Why are there agitations all over the place? Why have you not gone to a referendum to defeat that agitation? I pledge to Nigeria, my country. You know for sure that if there are 100 people in the room, there could be more than 95 that are crossing at that Nigeria as you are reciting all together. So you decide to lie to yourself. You build your country on a pile of lies that begins with we the people having committed to live together. How can we sustain this lie any further? That pile of lies, the NINAS is leading the charge to dismantle that pile of lies. In that dismantling, first we remove violence because we persuaded all of those who were pointing guns at everybody to say, including government, here's how we can solve it. We put a process step by step to it. We have identified the units all across. There's no portion of Nigeria left out in terms of discussions, consensus, and what exactly has to change. NINAS is the only group that has placed in black and white on the table. I want us to listen carefully. That has placed on the table exactly what is wrong in clear description. Exactly what has to be done in clear description. Exactly who has to do it in clear description. How it can all be done in terms of sequence. The 5-point proposition of the NINAS constitutional force majeure settles this. Every other talk about let's go restructure, let's go to 1963. The ones who are saying let's go back to 1963, have you asked yourself where that will leave the middle belt? Or even the eastern, the minorities of the east, so-called, the Jordan and the Efik, there was an incomplete decolonization. The minorities were left in the belly of the majority ethnic groups. In the north, the middle belt left in the belly of the caliphate. In the east, the minorities left in the belly of the majority Igbo. in the West, if not for 1963, where they were chasing Awolowo around to divide his kingdom, Middle Belt would still have been, Midwest will have still been in the belly of majority Yoruba, Western region. These are the kind of things. The British have gone away. Why will it be impossible for us, 63 years after, this is 64th year, why will it be impossible for us to sit down and work out what was not done? We saw what transpired in Lancaster House. Why will it take mischief to begin to grant everybody what they wanted in discussion that was not given to them? So on the day of trouble, you go and cut out the Midwest to beat down Awolowo. On the day of Biafra declaration, you go and cut off the eastern minorities that wanted their, a region of their own. Why didn't you grant it? Why didn't Willings Commission, grant it to them at the time? Who knows what will happen now in the Middle Belt that they will say, okay, let's go and do this and do that. So all those shenanigans will lead nowhere. The ones who want to go and do state police, you want to give guns to these governors we have seen in this manner, instead of going to where, what is arms and ammunition doing on the exclusive list in a federation? The governors will be more than happy to take up guns. You of course know who they are going to face face with those guns. Their political opponents will become the new criminals in town. What you call state police, what is wrong in settling this matter? There's no piecemeal approach to this matter that will take you anywhere. You go and create state police. Where's the money to finance? Because the economic assets are still in the hands of that illicit federal government. Where would the Niger Delta get the money to finance what it will take to have a police service, a police force that can police their kind of environment? When you are still holding on to the economic assets, you are holding the one of everybody, federal government. So if you go and create state police in the manner they are approaching it now, ad hoc, knee-jerk, you are going to give guns. You saw what happened to the East ESN in the so-called ESN in the East. You give guns to people, you are not going to be able, because you don't have the economic resources you require to be able to finance. And if you have police and the source of the crimes are not addressed, is that the solution to the problem? You don't want to work out electricity that will encourage production. You don't want to provide the other things that will become basis of engaging your populace to do things that will enhance their lives. You want to go and point guns at them so that you can get to the next election and get to become senator and get more people to protect you from the people who you are ruining their lives under this constitution. All those things will fail. And once you give out those guns, the opponents that these governors are going to be chasing around, look, just close your eye and take a random look around and see what these states as we have them were not created to advance the interests of the populace. It's just a matter of network of political settlements. You hold this one there, you hold this one, council area, not for development, not for any kind of provision of any service to anybody. It's just sharing of money, stakeholdership, and permanent agency. Once you come in, you have come in. You finish as governor, you go and be minister. You finish as minister, you go to Senate. The ones who were in Senate will come down to go. Just, a gang of determined criminals. And I use the word criminal advisedly. Anybody who is prepared to swear to defend and uphold this fraud is a criminal, the worst type of criminal. There's no thief that is more guilty of any crime than any one person, whether it's council chairman or his governor or his president, that is prepared to swear to defend and uphold this falsehood. That is destroying the lives of over 200 million people. Rendering black.
All right, we'll stop the video here. We'll post the video in its entirety on our Facebook page. I just still don't know why our people are not getting this information that we're sharing, especially those struggling with it. Our people are getting it anyway from the feedback, and from those that are still struggling with it, I just don't understand how it's okay for millions of people to be dying in poverty and you're not looking for a change that is truly foundational.